America Presidential Election 2024, Part 3.
November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country.
It is time for a new generation of leadership in America.
I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for president.
Both leading candidates right now will be in their 80s.
For months when you were asked about your age, you would respond with the words, watch me.
It's COVID. Dealing with everything we have to do with if we finally beat Medicare.
There are at least some House Democrats who were gathered tonight watching this together, talking to the White House about having to step down.
Look what happened.
Shots have rung out at a rally where President Trump was addressing the crowd.
They have extended the security perimeter around the Republican National Convention, which is set to get underway tomorrow.
And that iconic photo of him coming up. All we have to do is show them.
President Joe Biden has decided to drop out of the 2024 race.
I decided the best way forward is to pass the torch to a new generation.
I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country.
It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page.
Both candidates presenting vastly different closing arguments.
We're running out of ways to say close, tight, even, right? Either candidate can win.
We're going to unleash a golden age of prosperity.
These guys are creepy and yes, just weird as hell. And we will make America great again.
And when we fight, we win!
CBS News, America Decides, Election 2024.
It's 4 p.m. on the East Coast. Welcome to our America Decides election night coverage. I'm Lindsay Weiser.
And I'm Vladimir Jutin. We are live from Studio 57 right here in the heart of New York City. And folks, as you know, this has been an election year like no other, with a former president convicted of multiple felonies, facing even more indictments, and threatened by 2 assassination attempts.
And he's facing a historic vice presidential nominee who's only been at the top of her party's ticket for 107 days. Of course, after President Biden stepped aside from the race in July. And America faces what could be a long counting of votes in a country that is deeply divided and anxious about the outcome.
So, in our electoral college system, the path to 270 could come down to 7 battleground states. We talked about them all cycle long, have we not, Lindsay? We're talking about, of course, Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Georgia.
We'll be hearing about them early and often tonight, and our team of CBS News correspondents and reporters are spread out across the country. We are counting down to the first batch of exit polling as well. Well, we'll get a look at what is on the minds of voters. That'll come at 5 p.m. Eastern. But what a team.
What a team indeed. And more than 85 million of you have already voted early. And of course, millions more will make their way to the polls today and throughout the evening. So let us begin in those critical states with our senior White House correspondent, Ouija Jang, is joining us now from Philadelphia. Ouija, it's great to see you. Happy Election Day. Let's talk about why the Keystone State is so critical tonight for both campaigns.
Brad and Lindsay, it is great to be with you. Well, it is the biggest battleground state, and that means it has the biggest number of electoral votes up for grabs, 19. And that matters because even though both campaigns say they still have a path to victory, even if they lose Pennsylvania, the reality is it is virtually impossible for them. They would have to sweep several other states that are, as you mentioned, extremely tight. So the point is, if they win Pennsylvania, it is that much easier for them to win the White House. And folks here in the state know it. Anecdotally, we are hearing from our colleagues as well as from local election officials here in the city of Pennsylvania that turnout appears to be very high because all the voters we spoke with say they understand the assignment. They understand that the center of the political universe is right here in this state because it could all come down to this state right here. And that is why we are so closely monitoring. And good news, guys, in 2020, you might remember that Pennsylvania was not able to call the race until Saturday. Well, they expect to be able to do that much sooner this time around thanks to new technology, new machines, more workers, and fewer mail-in ballots because we are not in a pandemic. So an exciting night ahead from right here in Philadelphia, guys.
Okay, so Ouija, much sooner than Saturday. Do any officials give you a day of when we might know?
That depends. It also depends on how close the race is, right? And when they might be able to call it, because if there's still ballots left, but someone has already won the majority of registered voters, then, you know, they could perhaps call it. Now, nobody, I should say, is willing to commit to a deadline for when they think it's going to happen, but we are hearing Wednesday evening, Thursday morning, and very little beyond that. So that is at least a day and a half earlier than 2020.
Okay, Rita Jane in Philadelphia, thank you. Let's go down to Detroit, Michigan, where we find CBS News national correspondent Jerika Duncan. Jerika, what key voter blocks are you keeping an eye out for tonight?
Well, let me just set the scene for you guys really quickly. We've been here all morning, and there has been a steady stream of voters. You also hear a lot of celebrations because that's what happens when they acknowledge there's a first-time voter. As far as the voting blocks that we're really focused on, you have the black male vote, which we've seen a lot of polls showing that Donald Trump was gaining some support in that area. You have the UAW members. We spoke to the president of the UAW about an hour and a half ago. He talked about his focus on policy, said that there's been a huge outreach to his members because they endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris. When I asked him, though, why do you think that Donald Trump's message is resonating with a lot of those blue-collar labor workers, he said, quote, quite frankly, he thought that he was doing a good job of playing on the fears of a lot of people who are worried about their jobs being taken by other people. Another block to note are the Arab Americans. Why? Because here in Michigan, it's not good.
Banana or orange. All right.
Who have expressed that they are not comfortable with how Biden and Harris have handled the war in Gaza, so they're saying that they may not support the Democratic candidate Kamala Harris.
All right, Jerika, nothing for us in Detroit. It's going to be a long night. Thank you, Jerika. Over in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, that is where we find Janet Shanley standing by. So, Janet, you're a ballot counting center. Tell us what you're seeing right now.
I see you are good.
Hi, Vlad. This is Central Count in Milwaukee. Every in-person early voting ballot and absentee mail-in ballot will be counted here. That's currently 106,000 ballots, but that number is likely to rise as more ballots are brought in today. You can see 300 people working here behind me. Unlike some states, they cannot start counting these ballots before today, and that's why it's going to be a late night, or more likely a very early morning here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Earlier today, we were at a number of polling places ranging from Marquette University to one on the city's north side. Most notable was people's enthusiasm for the voting process. There have really been no problems here today. A little bit of spotty rain, but other than that, voting goes on in Wisconsin.
Love to see it.
Back to you.
Love to see that, Janet. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Nimbo.
All right, we're going to check it in with the Sunbelt states. Alliterations always get me. A bit later on, let's get now to presidential campaign headquarters.
CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes is with the Harris campaign at her alma mater, Howard University in Washington, D.C. And CBS News political correspondent Caitlin Huey-Burns is in West Palm Beach, Florida, with the Trump campaign.
Let's start with our Nancy Cordes. So, Nancy, let's talk about what we can expect from the vice president on election night, and just talk about the historic setting. Howard University, where the former president has actually questioned her race. This sends a really, really strong message.
Right. I'm standing in the quad at Howard University, of course, a famed historically black college university. It is
Who is this?
Harris's alma mater. She says that's why she
they
wanted to come back here tonight to use this as her campaign headquarters, her watch party. She's not here right now. In fact, just a short time ago, she went to Democratic headquarters down in downtown DC, basically to thank the staffers and volunteers who have been working so hard for her over the past few months. She also did a little bit of last-minute phone banking. Can you imagine if you're sitting at home, you get a phone call from the vice president herself telling you that you still need to get out and vote. Other than that, she's been behind closed doors today, and we haven't been given any indication of when she might make an appearance here at her own watch party. I'm told it all depends on what the returns look like. They're also going to be watching to see what Donald Trump does. Does he come out and claim victory before there is a victory to be claimed by either side? And if he does, what does she do then? They say they've got plans for every eventuality, guys.
Nancy Cordes in Washington, thank you so much. Caitlin, over to you in West Palm Beach, Florida. How confident is the Trump campaign about its chances tonight?
Lindsay, great to be with you. This has been a wild campaign, and the Trump team is exuding confidence, saying that the fundamentals of this race, especially the issues of the economy and immigration, favor them. But they've also acknowledged that this is a tight race. The biggest question is, how is the former president feeling? We've gotten a range of remarks from him. Even today, he visited a polling location where he cast his own ballot today in West Palm Beach. He said that so far he believes that the election is fine, but he has also, almost in the same breath, raised doubts about the election process and cast unfounded doubts about election machines. But this has been a tumultuous race for the former president. He has been campaigning for the White House for nearly a decade, including one term in the White House. He's hoping in this third and final campaign to have a win, but it all comes down to those battleground states. And Lindsay, I've been traveling with him across the country. He has had a very intense campaign schedule, hitting 4 stops yesterday, a rally late last night in Grand Rapids, Michigan, a key swing state that lasted until 2 o'clock in the morning. The big question, though, as Nancy alluded to, is whether he comes out tonight and declares prematurely any sort of victory and causes any sort of further questions or chaos about this election. We'll stay tuned.
All right, Caitlin Huey-Burns in West Palm Beach, Florida, thank you. All night, and for as long as it takes to project a winner, our CBS News data desk is analyzing the results as they come in from local and state officials and precincts. CBS News Executive Director of Elections and Surveys, Anthony Salvanto, is here with a look at how to watch the results. Anthony?
Hey everybody, Anthony Salvanto here at the CBS News Data Desk with a look at how to watch election night here on CBS on Tuesday. Let me start with our up-to-date latest estimates from all the battleground states. That's the 7 tight states that you'll see here in white that will likely decide this in the Electoral College. And our CBS estimates, one after another, they're all close. They're all within the margin of error. You see, including across the upper Midwest there, Pennsylvania, dead even. That could be key. That's your map. Now, let me show you how to watch this as the results start to come in. CBS News will have exit polls from all the battleground states, sending interviewers to precincts as people are voting on election day. We will bring you that data as soon as the polls close. We will show you the estimates we have from each state in real time. As county votes start to report, we will first urge patience. I will remind folks that in 2020, here's an example from Georgia. When we got all the vote, it was a narrow Joe Biden victory. But if you had seen that at, let's say, 8 p.m., just an hour after poll close, it would have looked like this, where only a few counties had reported, many of them Republican leaning. Have to wait for all the vote to come in a lot of close races. Now, as we go forward, I'm going to remind folks, one thing we always look for at the decision desk is the patterns and the shifts, comparing this election to the last one. For example, if in 2020 I had shown you this, it would have shown you that Joe Biden at the time, these blue arrows moving to the left, was swinging a lot of those counties around metro Atlanta. Donald Trump at the time was swinging a lot of these rural counties down in the central part of the state. We will show you how the shift is playing out in real time in this election too. And the other thing I'll remind folks is where the votes come from and turnout. Sometimes on just a red and blue map, you can't see that. But if I turn the state on its side here, these higher bars are where you've got more voters. In Metro Atlanta, this story is Democrats need a lot of turnout, whereas across the rural areas, fewer votes in each county, but Republicans tend to run up a rather consistent margin. That will be key for Donald Trump. So that's some of the ways that we will bring you all of this in real time as we go forward on election night. See you then.
All right, Anthony Salvanto for us. Thank you, Anthony. Let's go now to CBS News Chief Political Analyst John Dickerson, who is joining us now from Times Square. John, I thought it was interesting that Anthony focused on the state of Georgia. As you know, Bob Costa reported this morning that some sources within the Trump campaign say he might potentially declare an early victory even before all the results are counted, before there's an official declaration. So break down sort of what's at stake in this election, because to me, that's sort of a microcosm of what we've been talking about all cycle long.
Well, there's a lot that's at stake in this election, but let's start with that. I mean, candidates don't get to declare that they won. We saw in 2020 that Donald Trump claimed that he won, and he didn't win, and he's still claiming that he won in 2020. And that's, of course, a lie, and he used that lie to persuade people to march to the Capitol, and of course, there was violence in his name, for which the leaders of his party blamed him. For making a historic attempt to overthrow 81 million votes. So this looks very much like the same playbook. Now, that's just, so far this is just speculation about what the former president should do, so we should be careful to note that. But that would be, very similar to what he did last time, and suggest, the possibility of trouble this time around. But of course, the rest of what's at stake is, of course, what the presidency is all about, which is the serious complexity of running the United States, which is a very difficult job.
All right, John Dickerson, always appreciate your analysis. Thank you. And the presidency isn't the only contest on the ballot tonight. From Arizona to Pennsylvania, there are razor-thin margins in Senate and House races.
We're going to break down the races that could determine the balance of power in Congress. You're watching CBS News' America Decides, Election Night Special.
I mean, I am a queer person in this country, and I'm very afraid of losing my rights, and fingers crossed that doesn't happen this week.
So guys, polling has closed. So till tomorrow we shall meet again. Thank you for everything. Pray for us, pray for Democrats, pray for Kamala. It shall be well for all of us. Bye. I love you.